lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons and thy sons. So basically, what the Lord was impressing me at this time, but I'm going to have to do that hopefully tomorrow, or if I can come back. I'm not too sure about today. I've got a full program on today, all the way up until late. So what the Lord was impressing me is that He wanted to answer the questions of Hannah. You see, He wanted to answer the question about, but the Lord had shut up her womb. You see, and what was the difference between most likely Peninnah and Hannah? And as we read the beginning of chapter 1, there is a backdrop story. And even Hannah, she says, when she prays in verse 16, count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial. For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken. Hitherto. All right. And if I just go over to Deuteronomy 13, I have to end the show very shortly. If I go over, and as I say, folks, this is a recording, so at your own leisure, you're able to listen and capture, the nuggets that's being passed on to you here. So if I go over to Deuteronomy 13:13, it says here, certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods which you have not known. Right? So that's what it says here. So she says, count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial. So she's saying that she's not praying to other gods, she's serving the Lord with all her heart, her mind, and her soul. Right? So she's saying that she's devotional to the Lord, and so therefore she doesn't need to drink wine. She doesn't need to, and drunken means another, full of the spirit of the spirit of wine. Yes. So she's saying that she's praying into the true spirit of the Lord, and not of another. So so the Lord wanted me to go further into this, to understand, because it tells you that that they went up yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. So it seems like they had to go out of their way. They had to disposition themselves and reposition themselves to be able to give worship to the Lord, and they had to bring their sacrificial offer as well. Yeah, and that was yearly. And then it talks about, and the two sons of Eli, that's the priest, Hophni and Phinehas, the priest of the Lord, were there. So that's a throw-in. So basically, as you read, the backdrop is that there is some form of disparity that was taking place. And so the Lord wanted us to get a picture of Hannah, and it seems as though she was in the curse and not in the rewards of the Lord. And there was a special message that the Lord wanted me to bring forth. And that's why I went into talking on Noah and his 3 sons, so that we can have a background knowledge, the trail of the Holy Scriptures, and why the Lord promises to redeem us, and that He is our salvation. He's the one to give us the eternal life, the everlasting life, you see. So I'm going to leave it there, because I have another appointment that I have to attend, but I think I've said enough that we can work with, that we can savor, we can contemplate, and maybe even pray into, and ask the Lord to open up our eyes of understanding, and what is the actual message in it for each of us, because we each are on a soul journey, I'm going to say. And Jesus had to rebuke the unclean spirits in the Gospel of St. Mark 5, when the insane person cried from the tomb, and he had 66 legions in him, and Jesus rebuked them, and they went into the swines, who then went into the sea. They drowned themselves in the sea. So and Jesus again said in St. John's 15, he says that I am the vine, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Okay, and if I just flick over here, and he says, my Father is the husbandman. Okay, I've gone to St. Mark's instead, 15. So he says that I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. And the word is God, and the word was with God, and the word is spirit. So he's saying that now that I've given you the word of the Lord, all other spirits have been driven out of you. So you come in purity of spirit. Okay. And I really can go deep on this, I know people like to say, oh, you're going deep. Yeah. So so now it's like a loop, a circle that's been spoken here, because Hannah is saying that she had to come into purity of spirit. The husband Elkanah spoke to her prior to this, so she had to come into purity of spirit, and open up her soul, or pour out her soul to the Lord. And the Lord has referred to himself as a soul to the prophet Jeremiah between the chapters of 30 to 33. And I'm saying that the females in the scriptures, they represent the pure spirit within us. Okay. So by the word of the Lord, yes, because by the word of the Lord, she was able to come into a pure spirit, come into the purity of herself, and connect with her soul, which then she was able to petition to the Lord, because now she had a pure heart, a pure spirit. She came into one with the Lord, omniscient, oneness. She became, I'm going to use the word, and I'm using it on purpose here, she had a collective consciousness with the Lord. So, but the Lord, as I said, he had me read Deuteronomy 8 all the way to, 4 to this morning. I read the chapter 4 all the way to 8, 9, 10, I think. Okay, so I read it all the way to 8. So I read it to 10, to chapter 10. So it was chapter 4 to 10, and in it will explain the indifferences between Peninnah, the most likely indifferences between Peninnah and Hannah, and if we read in chapter 3, it says that Samuel chapter 3, it starts off by saying, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. Okay, so the backdrop was that the people were all worshipping false gods, and they had idols, and so this must have influenced the people. It influenced the Lord's chosen people. It influenced Elkanah. It influenced Peninnah, and it influenced Hannah. Yeah, and that's probably why the Lord had shut up her womb, but it was a good reason. This, and I'm going to use the word chastisement, right? And it's honorable when the Lord chastises His people. So I'm using the word chastisement. So it was honorable that the Lord had chastised Hannah, and she was in a delayed process, I'm going to say, because now the Lord was able to establish His word in her. He was able to bring her into purity of Him. And this is what the Lord wants of us. He wants us to come into His purity. And when we come into His purity, now we are ready to receive His goodness, the goodness that He has, that we are entitled to. Right? And as I began to read Deuteronomy chapter 4 to 10, the message that resonated to me, okay, and I'm claiming to be a messenger of God, is that you can't be on the fence. You can't be shades of grey. The Lord wants either you're black or you're white. Yes, that's what the Lord is saying. But He's not even giving you a choice. It's not, and people use the word choice, and the Lord has shown me many years ago, and I remember when I was doing my training in radiotherapy, I wrote an essay on choice, and that was before I was conscious of people talking about choice, and about informed choice. And when you read look in the dictionary, choice means high caliber. The Queen, she can talk in choice, right? So really, we have options. We have a range of options, and we can decide. So the Lord is saying, what resonated to me as I read Deuteronomy 4-10, is that the Lord is saying to me, yes, I may be using you as my messenger. However, you have to be pure with me. You cannot be on the fence. You cannot be either side. And there's a saying that man cannot, cannot love God and mammoth. It's either he loves one and he hates the other, right? So the Lord is talking to me, and He's saying to me, I'm going to confess this. You're on the fence, right? You're on the fence. You can't be on. You ought to be on my side. You ought to be in purity of me. Yeah, to be the messenger, you ought to be in purity. But now I don't see that as the Lord is telling me off that I'm on either side, because I'm operating in the flesh. I'm operating in the mind, the conditional mind, and in the upbringing of the environment and the time that I'm in. You see, so I see that I am to pray to the Lord, that the Lord will enable me to come into the purity. And that's what Hannah had to do. She had to pray to the Lord and focus and have her mind taken off the adversary, taken off all the wrongs that was happening out there, all the sins, wickedness and evil. She had to take her mind off it, and that's where her willpower comes in, I would say. That's where the conscience comes in. I'm going to say it kicks in. Yeah. So though the Lord knows that, there is stronger powers out there, spirituality going on, He wants us, though. He gives us the ability to come to Him, not to come to Him, but He gives us the ability to pray. That's what Jesus was saying, pray at all times, that we can go down on our knees, close our eyes and clench our hands, because the clenching of the hands is the vision of the mind of God. And when we bow to the earth that He made. And then when we meditate, we connect to His heaven. But we're meant to connect to the soul and come in purity of Him, you see. So the Lord is saying, come, pray to me. Pray to me. And He wants to see that I have that desire in me, but I have to pray for desire as well, you see. But the fact that I've committed and I'm praying to the Lord, okay, and I'm surrendering my word, my intent, my desire, my will to serve the Lord will now enable me to come into the purity. Because if you notice the stories of Jesus, that it was Jesus who caused the blind to see, the lame to walk. He was the one who ushered out the unclean spirits and caused the insane to become sane. Right? So we have to know who's our master. We have to know what is above and what is below, and know that we are to appeal to the Lord, that He will make us right. Okay, so I'm gonna. It seems to be a lot to be said here, and the Lord is really taking me into His holy scriptures. And I believe what I've said here today, it will take a keen person to stay with these words. And this is what the Lord is saying. I want you to be keen in me. I want you to be focused in me. I want you to study me. I want you to understand me, to come higher, coming into the higher calling. And many will say this is quite deep, this word deep. But the Lord is saying, come into the higher knowledge of me. That I will give you that wisdom. I will make you brainy. Okay? I will give you the brain to